everybody to this week's Bodacity Show. I'm Jeanette Anderson, your hostess with the mostest, and I'm here today with the fabulous Tai Goodwin, coming to you live from
Orlando, Florida.
All right, awesome. And I am currently in, I think, Provo, Utah, or just outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm driving back from Arizona to Alberta, and so apologize for the background noise. I'll try and minimize it as much as possible, everybody. This is the quietest restaurant I could find, and I kind of like this sign here. Wait, which way do I go? It's time to make your mark, and today we're going to be talking about how can you do that more cost effectively. So I'm excited because I think it's a really big question and topic. So welcome, Tai. I'm glad you're here. I'm going to tell them about you officially, and then we'll find out the real juicy stuff behind the scenes, okay?
Sounds good.
Tai Goodwin is an award-winning instructional designer, author, speaker, and marketing strategist. CEO of that marketing team, she's a former teacher turned entrepreneur with over 20 plus years of experience marketing online. That's a lot of years in that area. After helping hundreds of entrepreneurs leverage social media and online marketing as a coach, she stepped into the agency world to literally take marketing tasks off the plates of her clients. Brave woman. Oh, I know the challenge of that. Tai launched that marketing team to support busy CEOs and business owners who are tired of trying to run their company and do all the marketing by themselves. The author of Girlfriend, It's Your Time, and co-author of The Profitable Woman's Playbook. Her articles have been featured on the Huffington Post and Forbes.com. She's also been highlighted by Money Magazine, Blank Enterprise, and the Boss Network, which, by the way, I want to ask you about later, Tai. So, hi and welcome. Congrats on being in this game for so long. That's not an easy task in and of itself.
Yeah, and I would have never thought that this would be my journey. So it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, no doubt. And starting an agency, were you drunk or like demented or what? Because oh my God, what a challenge that can be. Doing the work is fun, but managing the teams and the projects and all of that, it's work. I've been there, I've done that. I've had a marketing agency myself, and God bless you. Someone's got to do it, and I'm glad it's you. So tell us something about you we wouldn't guess or find on your website, or that would surprise people. And I always say you get extra points for making it juicy.
Oh, I'm gonna find something that's super juicy. Something that most people probably wouldn't realize is that I started my career in fashion design in school. I studied fashion design for an entire year and a half before switching to accounting and then switching to education. So that's a path, right? Janelle, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Oops, sorry. So from the creative and the artistic to very left brain, logical with accounting, to teaching, which is very supportive and heart-based for many people, depending on what kind of teaching you're doing. That is quite the path. So speaking of paths, tell me why you do the work you do before we leap in, because I'm known as the why whisperer. I'm all about the profiting from your purpose. So why do you do the work you do?
That's an onion with a few different layers, Jeanette. I became an entrepreneur because I was pregnant with my daughter and I really didn't want to go back to work. I wanted to be there for her. So she started me on this entrepreneurial path. But the work that I do in marketing now, why I do what I do, is because I absolutely love teaching my clients how to get more visibility. I love seeing the light bulb go off. I love helping them chart their plan and create their content. I love watching them get that visibility because they're brilliant at what they do. And it just means so much that I can help them play bigger and show up better and show up more consistently. And it's the teacher, and it goes right back to that, me being that teacher and wanting my students to shine. I'm the same exactly with my clients right now.
So you do a lot of education in your work and as an agency, helping people to understand how to market as well as what to do?
Oh, absolutely. Because there's so much BS out there, right? There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of people making a whole lot of complicated promises. And listen, let's be real. If it was as simple as downloading something for Chat GPT,
Yeah,
and being able to make $1 million, everybody would be millionaires.
yeah,
So, it's not true. It doesn't work that way. And I see so many people disenfranchised thinking that there's something wrong with them or there's something wrong with their business acumen. And a lot of times it's just that no one's ever taught them how to market.
exactly. Well, and or they haven't overcome their resistance to sales and marketing. They're
Mhm.
the technicians who love to do the work, but they don't
Yeah.
necessarily invest in figuring out how to be business people.
Yeah.
Because they, are the coaches or the cabinet makers or the massage therapists or the practitioners, and
Mhm.
they haven't figured out how to do that side of
Yeah.
things. Or they have all sorts of stuff about it, all sorts of stories and BS about it. And yeah, then they get told and sold things that are ahead of the stage that they're at. They're
Yeah.
not successful implementing that, and they think it's their fault. That's a
Yeah.
big soapbox I have that I think we would agree on, that there's too many gurus selling things that are ahead of the stage that most people are at, that work at the top of the mountain when you've got leverage and team and big lists and
Yeah.
influence, but don't work to most of the people that they're selling it to. So that's one of the things that I think helps or causes people not to make money early in their business. But I love your topic about talking about what mistakes do entrepreneurs make
Yeah.
that keep them from making money in their business. So let's jump right into that, because I think it's a really important topic. What are some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make that
Mhm.
keep them from making money in their business? What's your
Yeah.
experience?
Well, one of them I'm going to start with connects to what you just said. A lot of people don't really make a decision to be an entrepreneur. They make a decision that they want to make money using their skills,
Yeah.
which is completely different from choosing to be an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur solves problems, an entrepreneur has policies and things in place. An entrepreneur sets up a business. They don't just sell their services. That's freelancing. And listen, there's a place for freelancers in this market and in this world, but it's not necessarily the same thing as being an entrepreneur. And I know there are people that want to argue that, but here's where I draw the line with people. When I say, okay, how do you feel about sales and marketing? And you tell me that you hate sales and marketing, that's a clear indicator that you're not really an entrepreneur. You just want to do your work. And I get it. Right. So you have to make that decision. Are you a freelancer? Go be an amazing freelancer. Or are you really an entrepreneur where you're building a business that can operate without you, where you're building a business where you're not the only person there? Because if you're building a business, there's a different path that you have to take.
Or are you someone who actually really does want to be an employee, but just hasn't found the right employer yet? And
Absolutely.
and there's no, shame or wrong in being an employee, or like you said, a freelancer. Although even freelancers have to market themselves, they have to be
They
effective at
do.
getting gigs, unless you're working through a consulting firm or an agency or a placement place. But even then,
Right.
you still have to get into and get those contracts from them and rise to the top of the
Exactly.
pile that they have. So
Yeah.
I think we always are marketing, whether you're an employee and it's internally or you're an entrepreneur, but you do have to learn the art and science of it more if you're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. So let's talk about, what are some of the things that cause entrepreneurs to go broke? What do they
Oh my
do
gosh.
wrong in the beginning? So
Yeah.
not
So,
learning how to run a business for sure,
yeah.
and not
Well,
learning how to sell or market, but what are some of the specific things, mistakes they make?
so I'm always going to tell on myself. I tell my clients all the time, I practice what I teach. And so I've got stories about other folks and clients, but I've got stories about me too. So Jeanette, I was Facebook rich and profit poor for 5 years in my business. And I had people that loved me on Facebook. This was back in, now, mind you, this is back in 2008, 2009, when things were just getting turned up. Had 14,000 followers on Twitter because I was a co-host of a Twitter talk show. I don't know if anybody remembers those, but there used to be these talk shows on Twitter that were all tweets and amazing, amazing things. But I was not really great at getting clients, right? I really didn't know how to do that. And so I lost a lot of money, because here's what I would do. And a lot of your audience might do this too. I was just updating my website. I was getting new photo shots. I was paying for this. I was rebranding. I need new business cards. I need to join this network. I need to buy this. I was spending all of this money. And the beautiful thing at the time was I was sponsored by my day job, right? My day job literally sponsored my business. And so it was easy for me to take that money, and because I had discretionary income coming in from my job, and it was easy for me to just keep putting that in the business and call myself an entrepreneur. right? And that's one of the things that we do that goes wrong. Now, listen, I'm all for having amazing systems, right? You know, we've got our own CRM and we've got our own funnels and things like that that we help our clients with. Love that side of things. However, when you're just starting out, the first thing you need to do is get a sale. Before you build a website, before you have the photo shoot, before you get business cards, right?
Amen,
Sell
sister.
something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. I actually tell my clients, don't you dare put up a website until you've worked with at least 6 clients and preferably 10, because you don't know who you're really meant to serve. You think you do. I have yet to get a client who is still actually serving who they started out thinking they were going to serve in 40 some odd years of doing this. And you don't know what problem you're solving for them. You think
That's
you do,
sure.
but you don't end up actually selling that
Uh-huh.
most times. And you don't know what the conversation needs to be. So don't you dare put up a website until you know what conversation you're having with whom and about what. And most of you think you do, but you don't. So don't do that till you work with clients.
Or I'll give you one even better. You don't even know if you like doing what you're doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, you don't even know, you haven't done it enough because, you know, because it sounds good, right? I'll give you a perfect example. The person that says, I'm going to build websites.
Yeah.
And it sounds good and it sounds easy because you know how to do WordPress. But by the time you get in and understand, oh, this needs to be templated, this needs to be checked, I need to do this. And it's real, you realize there's 40 different things that go into actually launching a profitable website. You're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for that.
Yep,
right?
Exactly. Well, and I'll tell you what, too, I've been a marketer for 40 years. I've had 4 iterations of my business. I did not have a website for 27 years. And I managed to run successful businesses, have clients, get clients, etc. Now, you know, nowadays it's one of those things that people check off. Yes, they have one. It either supports or undermines your credibility a little bit. But frankly, when was the last time you ever read through an entire website? Unless you're really going to invest in someone, and even then, most people don't. So, okay. So what are some of the other things, mistakes that people perhaps invest in too soon? So for instance, you mentioned CRM. Would you advocate that people put systems in place right away?
I would absolutely put a marketing system in place. And here's why, because even when you're starting out, a lot of people get lost with the follow-up. You know, how many, you know, I would say to a client, well, how many people did you talk to this week? Oh, I talked to a lot of people. What's a lot of people? Well, I talked to a bunch of people this week. Well, show me the numbers. And then they can't account for how many people. And I actually did this with one client. I said, okay, let's really take a look at what you did this week. And she was thinking in her mind, because she was doing all this stuff on Facebook and Instagram, and it was fun and it felt really good, that she talked to a lot of people. And when we went to actually look at the number, she'd only talked to 5 people that week. And I'm like, so you didn't even talk to enough people to get any conversions. And now you're wondering, like, how come you don't have any clients? Well, you have to make sure you're talking to enough people. And I find that the sooner you put a system in place for you to track that, right? So you can see, okay, I've got 20 people in my pipeline. I'm going to call 5 people each day. Who didn't I call yesterday that I need to call today? You need something to track that. Now, listen, it can be an Excel spreadsheet, but here's what I know. The sooner you get into a habit of where you can automate that, the more profitable you're going to be, because it's not going to slip your mind and you're not going to let deals fall through the cracks.
And you discipline yourself when you have a system to input things into. If you discipline yourself to do this, when you network, which is what you should be doing, especially initially, is networking your ass off. You put in things to remind you, and you capture that information with enough notes to remember who these people are and to actually remind you to follow up with them. Otherwise, and you can do that with a spreadsheet and a calendar, but you know, it does help to get disciplined about capturing information at the time. So I totally agree with you. And one of the things that I would, you know, say that I spent a lot of money on, that was much like a gym membership when you travel a lot like I do. It was an investment in something that was a great theory, but not a good reality. So I spent a lot of money on Infusionsoft.
Oh my God.
Infusionsoft long
Me
before,
too, sister.
long before it was A, appropriate for the size of business I was, and B, you know, all it was confusing, expensive, and I gave that company thousands of dollars and got zero return and it
Yeah.
was too much for me at the time.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what do you advocate in terms of, like, there's a lot to be said for pick and stick and learn and grow with it, but almost everyone I know who picked a big system
Right.
did not use it. So what do
Mhm.
you advocate in terms of trying to pick a CRM? What would you tell people?
Well, I'm a little biased because we have a CRM, Lead Momentum, that's our SaaS. And one of the things I love about it is that we've built it in so that it can grow with our customers, right? And that's what's really important for us. But, I was right there with you, back when Infusionsoft, and they're really great marketers because you'll go to these events and they'll do a really great job selling you. But what it is they don't really teach you. And I get it. Not all companies are about teaching, but that's my jam, right? So, when people, use it, when you're taking a look at a system, you have to really understand, like, what are the functions that you really need, and you have to understand about, can it grow with you? Like, I see a lot of people choose something that's cheap because it's like, oh, it's cheap, but then when they're trying to move, or they need to move, it's costly because it's going to take them 3 times as much, three times as hard to get their things moved to a new system. So you've got to choose something that's going to grow with you, and then really make sure you understand why you need it. Like, that's the big thing. What are the 5 things that you need? Some of the other things I tell people when they take a look at any kind of software is, does it play nicely with your other tools? What kind of support does it give you? Right. And the last thing I've already said, does it scale with you? Is it going to allow you to grow to where you need to grow?
And I often advocate, so love to hear what you think on this, is don't get technology beyond what you need right now yet. And don't get team beyond what you need right now, because most of the time people are buying one or the other to avoid doing the roles.
Yeah.
So to avoid doing the sales, to avoid doing the marketing, to avoid doing the things that they aren't comfortable doing. So I'll just get a team member and then I don't have to sell.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. For the tech, I think you want to get something that's at least 4 steps ahead of you, because then you can see how it can grow, and it'll often force you to set the right foundations in place so that you can get there. Right. Because then you'll have those things built in. So that's a whole other conversation to have. But you're absolutely right when it comes to the teams. I see it all the time. I'm just going to hire a virtual assistant. And my question is, what's the virtual assistant going to do? Well, they're going to post for me. Well, what are they going to post? Well, I don't know. That's their job. No. You need a strategy before you do it. Or sales. I hear that all the time. I'm just going to get somebody to sell for me. First of all, they're never going to know how to sell as well as you. And if you don't know the sales conversation, you can't teach it to them because it's your business. And we've got a rule in this, because that's one of the things we do in our agency side, is that we're helping our clients prepare for when they want to outsource it completely. You cannot delegate what you don't understand. So if you don't understand how marketing works, if you don't understand how sales systems works, if you don't understand how automation works, you're going to have a really hard time outsourcing it. And this is where people get taken, because somebody will say, well, we'll do all these things for you. And you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. And then because they don't really know how to do it, and it kind of looks like it's working, and you're like, well, where's the money? And remember that old commercial? Like, you're probably, in the same bracket, right?
Where's the beef? Yes, I knew where you were going.
Where's the beef?
Yep.
Right. And but the thing is, if you don't know how it's supposed to work, you'll let a whole bunch of people sell you a whole bunch of stuff simply because of what their promise is. So you got to, dig under the hood. Or that's why we do what we do. Is I know that I've hated spending thousands of dollars and not really understanding how it worked, but hoping for the promise that was given to me. And I had to go back and do the work. And so now we are really big on teaching our clients, listen, you need to understand how it works so that when you do hire someone, that it's not going to take them 6 hours to post your social media content every month. Right.
Yeah.
But you don't know that unless you actually know what it takes.
Right. And they can't create content if they don't know what your vision is, what problem you solve, for who to talk to them, in what tone. You have to know all of that and have that articulated.
And if they don't understand what a sales cycle is, like, that's the biggest thing I see, right? All content is not created equal. The way you talk to someone who's just becoming aware of the problem is not the same way you talk to somebody who's just becoming aware of your brand, is not the same way you talk to someone who has been on your email list for years and now they're at the evaluation process. And if whoever is creating content for you doesn't understand that, then you're in trouble.
Yep, exactly. So I have so many questions for you. One quick one, just a quick aside, because it just popped in my brain, was the old rule of thumb used to be that if you're posting content, that to a nurture list or to a general kind of nurture sequence, in other words, it's people that you're talking to on an ongoing basis, they're not in that end stage of your sales cycle, that it should be 7-2-1, 7 general add value in your area of expertise, 7 gives, 7 contributions, 2 either 2 personal messages and 1 marketing messages, or 2 marketing messages and 1 personal message, depending again on your brand and positioning. What are you finding now? Is that ratio still working? Is that still what people should be doing, or has that changed?
It's changed, and here's why. It used to make sense when we controlled what messages they were seeing, right? I can't control the algorithms. So if people are trying to use it on social media and thinking, okay, well, I posted 5 things, so now I post a value post, you have absolutely no idea if somebody's going to see that post before they see the other content. You have no idea if they saw the last 6 posts that you gave. And quite honestly, even with your emails, you could send 10 emails and the person is not going to open until the 8th email. So they didn't see your offer the first time, second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, which is what I want you to hear, is that in our emails, we're going to make you an offer every single time. Now, it might not be the same offer, but every single thing we do is going to have a call to action, whether the call to action is to engage with our content, whether it's to take the next step, whether it's to check out the video we just posted, we want people to take action, because that's what we're helping people do. We want them to see our stuff and be engaged with it enough that they're going to take whatever that next step is. So that whole, well, I can only sell after I post 4 things, you have no control over that timeline. So that cannot be the theory that you apply to your marketing.
That's so good. And I'm glad that you said that, because I think that's so true now. And I hope you all heard, every time you make an offer, but the offer is about moving them through the process with you. So not everyone is a sale,
Right.
but it's selling them on taking that next step with you. It's a call to action. So every communication needs a call to a next step, or to something that's going to move them forward with you. I love that. So one more quick tip about we're running out of time, but tell us a little bit about, so I'll just go to this question. You run an agency and take a lot of things off people's plates, but much like the whole idea of hiring a team, a lot of times people will hire an agency with some false expectations about what that's going to mean. In my experience, many agencies you can rely on for more strategic input and partnering with you than if you just go hire, often third world VAs and support people and graphic designers and so forth. They don't bring strategy to the table. What's the difference between hiring an agency, and when should entrepreneurs hire an agency and when shouldn't they?
That's a good question, because some of it depends on what the agency offers and what they do. So while we run an agency, like, we've got different tiers to it. We've got a whole done, for you side of things, that for folks who have the budget for that. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things about hiring an agency, is that, when you're hiring an agency, you need to make sure that you have a budget for at least 3 months. Like, our programs run in 90-day cycles because it takes that long to see marketing results. When you're hiring an agency, it's going to be something for the long term. I'm hiring an agency because I need clients tomorrow. That's not how it works. That agency, we're going to have to take time to kind of get to understand your business, to build the right things, to test and see what works and what doesn't work, and then to optimize it. And that takes time, and it takes a relationship. On the other side of it, we have our, do it yourself and done with you. We've got a micro membership, right? Where, you can come every week and get help with your content. And one of the reasons we created that was because you don't need an agency, right? But you do need something that's going to help you with your consistency, right? So if consistency is your big issue, don't hire an agency. Learn how to do it and be consistent. If optimization and scalability is your need, that's when you want to look to hire an agency. And I want people to hear me on this. If you're thinking that you're going to hire an agency simply because of the fact that you don't have time, that's not the right move. If you're lacking time in your business, I guarantee you that your operations are not in order. Because you can't do all the things that you need to do is not the reason to hire an agency. You want to hire an agency when you're ready to scale, because it's that big of an investment of your time and of your resources. If you're in that middle ground, you need to start taking a look at your operational systems that you've got in place, your SOPs. Do you have those things standardized and documented and templated? Because that's where you're losing your most time, and an agency won't be able to help you.
Amen. And not only that, because I have, and actually am now right in the middle of spending too much on an agency. And the problem is not having the policies. The problem is I'm the bottleneck. I don't have enough time to manage the multiple projects that the agency is doing, plus my own team members, plus do delivery, plus work on strategy, and most importantly, sales. And so consequently, I'm not utilizing the agency to the degree that I could and should be. So the issue is less, well, not less about, but if you don't have those operational systems in place, chances are good you're doing a bunch of operational things that take away from your time. So you don't have the time to manage the agency. And that's a big part of it too, whether it's agency or team. If you can't manage them, you're not going to monetize them. You're not going to get any money.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good quote. If you don't have time to manage them, you're not going to monetize them.
Love it.
All
love
right.
it.
So let's tell folks about the gift that you have for them. What is something that they can go and get to know you better?
So I'm going to put this in 2 layers here. So we have a Facebook group called Marketing for Non-Marketers.
Okay.
And that's the simplest way to find us. You can look it up on Facebook, Marketing for Non-Marketers. That's totally free. But then we also have a really low ticket, what we call a micro membership, where, like I said, if you're looking for support with your content, we give you a monthly calendar for not just your social media, but for your emails as well. And then every Friday, we're doing a live conversation with people, helping them write their content, helping them give feedback on their content so that their marketing and their messaging is aligned. And they can find that, like if you go to tailikes.com/content club, because this simply is a low ticket content club that we're there every week helping people get more consistent with their content so they can attract more leads every single month.
Awesome. I love that. So when you say low price, what do you mean? What is that?
$7 a month. Less than a
Perfect.
less than a Netflix subscription.
There you go. And less than a grande, whatever at Starbucks. No doubt these days. So that's TaiLikes, TaiLikes.com/content club. All right. And so what's one last thing you'd like to leave people with in terms of the whole conversation around why or how not to go broke when starting your business? What's one last piece of wisdom you'd like to leave people with?
Oh, it's really hard to serve people from a place of joy and abundance when you're broke. And a lot of times we're setting up our businesses to be broke businesses. And so that makes us very anxious. It makes us very frustrated and angry. And what that does is it makes us hate being an entrepreneur, when in reality, if you learn how to market, if you put the right things in place at the right time, if you bring in the right clients and you make that your focus, you're not going to be broke, but it's also going to position you to do the best work that you can for your clients. And then you're going to feel good, they're going to feel good, and you're going to be making money.
I love that. So true. And so many people step out of this field or becoming entrepreneurs because of exactly that. And we lose those people. They don't end up making their mark there, that way, in the world like they can. They don't end up living into their why in the right way, or in a way that makes them feel fulfilled and happy, and they don't learn how to profit from living their purpose. So I am so glad that you are an advocate for people, entrepreneurs and women, to really learn how to practically, sensibly profit from living their passion, not just having an idea, but actually learning what they need to do, what they need to be, what they need to do, and what they need to have to be successful. So thank you for the work you do, Tai. I appreciate it. Love your practical bottom line orientation and your heart, and your teacher's heart too. That's awesome. So everybody go check her out. Go get her download. Tai, oops, I forgot the title now, but it's, what is it? Tai Likes?
TaiLikes.com
Yeah.
/content club.
Perfect. There we go. And or go to the web or the Facebook group, Marketing for Non-Marketers, and hang out there and make yourself into someone who loves marketing, because it's a really cool, fun thing to do when you get over yourself and really get what it's about, which is connecting with other people and helping them be more successful. So thanks for being here, my friend. Good to meet you. Good to hear from you. And I look forward to staying in touch. All right, everybody, go on out and make your mark this week. Be bodacious, be bold, be you out there in the market. Bye for now.